that define a life. Moments when everything you believed about yourself, about your place in the world, shatters like glass. For Celeste Ashwood, that moment came on her 18th birthday when her wolf failed to emerge. She'd stood in the ceremonial circle, surrounded by her pack, waiting for the transformation that would make her whole. Every shifter experienced their first change on the night they came of age. It was law, biology, destiny, except hers never came. The pack had waited. Alpha Thorne had commanded her to focus, to reach deep inside for the beast that should have been there. She tried until her body shook with effort, until tears streamed down her face, until the pitying looks from pack members became unbearable. Defective, someone had whispered. Broken. Another had agreed. That had been 2 years ago. Now, at 20, Celeste stood in the servants' entrance of the Crimson Palace, adjusting the borrowed gown that hung too loose on her thin frame. Around her, 100 princesses from kingdoms across the realm prepared to enter the Vampire King's ball. They were beautiful, powerful, perfect. Everything she wasn't. Celeste had no business being here. She wasn't royalty. She was barely even pack anymore. The Ashwood wolves had demoted her to Omega status after her failure to shift, giving her the lowest rank, the most degrading tasks. She existed on the margins, tolerated but not valued. The invitation had been a cruel joke. When the Vampire King's proclamation arrived, declaring he would choose a bride from among the realm's eligible nobility, Alpha Thorne had laughed. "Send Celeste," he'd announced to his council. "Let the vampires see what pathetic specimen the Ashwood pack produces. Perhaps it will amuse their king." The other council members had protested weakly, but Thorne overruled them. "She's technically an Ashwood. She meets the requirements. And if the Vampire King is offended by our offering, what does it matter? We lose nothing of value." So here she stood, a deliberate insult, disguised as a candidate. The gown she wore had belonged to Thorne's daughter, Lyra, who discarded it years ago. The shoes pinched her feet. She had no jewels, no attendants, no hope. "Final preparations, ladies," a vampire servant announced, his red eyes sweeping over the assembled princesses. "His Majesty, King Lucian Nightborn, will receive you in the grand ballroom. Remember, he will dance with each of you. At the end of the evening, he will choose his bride, only one." Excited whispers filled the air. These princesses had been preparing for this moment their entire lives. They understood politics, seduction, power. Celeste understood how to scrub floors and absorb insults without flinching. The doors opened, revealing the grand ballroom in all its dark splendor. Obsidian columns stretched toward a ceiling painted with constellations. Chandeliers dripped with blood-red crystals that cast crimson shadows across the marble floor. Vampire nobility lined the walls, their pale faces beautiful and terrible. And at the far end, seated on a throne of black stone, was King Lucian himself. Celeste's breath caught. She'd expected a monster. The rumors about the Vampire King painted him as cruel, cold, ancient beyond measure. But the man on that throne was devastatingly beautiful. Dark hair fell to his shoulders, framing a face of sharp angles and full lips. His eyes, even from this distance, glowed with crimson light. He wore black and silver, his powerful frame radiating authority. He looked bored. The princesses entered in order of rank, announced by name and title. They curtsied, they preened, they displayed themselves like precious merchandise. King Lucian watched with polite disinterest, occasionally nodding acknowledgement. Celeste hung back, trying to delay the inevitable humiliation. But eventually, she was the only one left. "Lady Celeste Ashwood of the Ashwood Pack," the herald announced. She heard the slight emphasis on lady, the unspoken question in his tone. She was no lady. Everyone knew it. Celeste walked forward on trembling legs, acutely aware that her gown was outdated, her hair simply braided because she had no lady's maid. Her presence, an insult to everyone in the room. She reached the throne and executed her curtsy, keeping her eyes downcast. She expected dismissal. Instead, silence stretched. Slowly, Celeste raised her eyes. King Lucian was leaning forward, staring at her with an intensity that made her stomach flip. His crimson eyes had narrowed, his expression shifting from boredom to something she couldn't identify. Curiosity? Confusion? "You're wolfless," he said. It wasn't a question. Heat flooded Celeste's cheeks. Of course he could tell. Vampires had senses even sharper than shifters. "Yes, Your Majesty," she whispered. "And yet you're here, among 100 princesses competing for my hand." His voice was deep, cultured, carrying easily through the silent ballroom. "Interesting. My Alpha sent me," Celeste admitted, deciding honesty was all she had. "As a joke, I believe, to mock both of us." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. One didn't speak so bluntly to a vampire king. But Lucian's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. "A joke," he repeated. "How amusing. And what do you think of this joke, Lady Celeste?" "I think I shouldn't be here," she said quietly. "I think there are 100 women far worthier of your attention. I think—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "I think you deserve better than to have your time wasted." The smile widened. Honesty. How refreshing. He stood, descending the throne steps with fluid grace. Up close, he was even more imposing, towering over her small frame. "Tell me, wolfless one, if you know you don't belong here, why did you come?" "I had no choice," Celeste replied. "When an Alpha commands, an Omega obeys." Omega, understanding, flickered in his eyes. "They demoted you for failing to shift." "Yes. And how do they treat Omegas in the Ashwood pack?" Celeste hesitated. "The truth was ugly. With the kindness we deserve, Your Majesty." "That's not an answer." He moved closer, and she caught his scent, night-blooming flowers, and something darker, richer. "How do they treat you?" The attention of the entire ballroom pressed down on her. These powerful creatures watching, judging, waiting to see what the vampire king would do with the defective shifter who dared to enter his court. "They treat me as a reminder," Celeste said finally, "of what happens when you're born wrong, when you fail at the one thing that defines your worth." Something flickered across Lucian's face. Not pity, but recognition. As if he understood exactly what she meant. "Dance with me," he commanded. Celeste's eyes widened. "Your Majesty, I don't—" It wasn't a request. He extended his hand, pale and elegant. "You came to compete like the others, so compete." She placed her hand in his, feeling the coolness of his skin against her warmth. He led her onto the floor as musicians began to play. The other princesses watched with expressions ranging from confusion to outrage. Why was he wasting time on the wolfless Omega? Lucian pulled her into the waltz position, one hand at her waist, the other holding hers aloft. "Follow my lead," he murmured, "and try not to faint. It's tedious." Despite her terror, Celeste almost smiled. He was arrogant, certainly, but there was something unexpectedly dry in his humor. As they began to move, she found he was right. Following his lead was easy. He moved with supernatural grace, guiding her effortlessly through steps she barely knew. "You're wondering why I chose you first," Lucian said as they spun. "I'm wondering when you'll dismiss me so you can dance with someone appropriate," Celeste replied. "What if I told you that you're the only appropriate choice in this room?" She missed a step, stumbling. He caught her easily, pulling her closer. "That's impossible." "Why? Because you're wolfless?" His crimson eyes bore into hers. "Tell me, Celeste of the Ashwood pack, do you know what I've been searching for in a bride? Power? Beauty? Political advantage? Humanity," he said simply. "Or whatever passes for it among our kinds. I've lived for 3 centuries. I've seen countless beautiful faces, powerful families, strategic alliances. They all blur together after a while. But you," he spun her sharply, "you walked into my court knowing you'd be mocked, knowing you didn't belong, and you did it anyway. That takes a different kind of strength." "It takes weakness," Celeste corrected bitterly. "It takes having no choice." "No." His grip tightened slightly. "It takes courage. And courage, I find, is far rarer than any supernatural power. The music swelled. Other couples had joined them on the floor, the king having broken the ice, but Celeste barely noticed them. She was trapped in Lucian's gaze, in the impossible suggestion that somehow, impossibly, he saw value where everyone else saw failure. "You're going to choose someone else," she said. "You have to. I'm nothing, Your Majesty. I can offer you nothing." "Then you won't be disappointed," Lucian replied, "when I tell you that I've made my choice." The music ended. The ballroom fell silent. Lucian released Celeste, turning to address the assembled crowd. "I thank you all for attending," he said, his voice carrying absolute authority. "Your presence honors my court. However, I have found what I was seeking." He looked directly at Celeste. "Lady Celeste Ashwood, I choose you as my bride." The ballroom erupted in chaos. Chapter 1. "This is madness." Princess Lyra of the Ashwood pack stood, her beautiful face twisted with fury. "She's not even a proper shifter." "You can't possibly." "I can," Lucian interrupted, his voice dropping to a dangerous purr. "And I have. Does someone wish to challenge my decision?" Silence fell like a blade. No one challenged a vampire king. Not if they valued their life. Celeste stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. He'd chosen her. Out of 100 princesses, he'd selected the wolfless Omega. It made no sense. It had to be another joke, a more elaborate humiliation. "Your Majesty," she whispered, "I don't understand." "You will," Lucian replied. He offered his arm. "Come. We have much to discuss." She had no choice but to take it. He led her from the ballroom, leaving behind a wake of shocked whispers and envious glares. They walked through corridors of dark marble and crimson tapestries until they reached a private study. Lucian closed the door, finally releasing her. "Sit," he commanded, gesturing to a chair by the fireplace. "You look ready to collapse." Celeste sank into the seat, her legs shaking. "Why did you do that?" "Choose you?" Lucian poured 2 glasses of wine, offering her one. "I told you. I found what I was looking for. But I'm wolfless." "Yes, I know. You've mentioned it several times." He settled into the chair opposite hers, studying her over the rim of his glass. "Tell me something. Do you think being wolfless makes you worthless?" "My pack does." "I asked what you think." Celeste took a sip of wine, buying time. Did she think she was worthless? She'd spent 2 years being told she was. 2 years of degradation, isolation, shame. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice still protested, still insisted that she was more than her missing wolf. "I think," she said carefully, "that I'm not what anyone expected me to be, and I'm tired of apologizing for it." "Good." Lucian leaned back, something like approval in his expression. "Then we have our first point of agreement. I still don't understand why you chose me. Because everyone else in that ballroom wants something from me. Power, status, protection. They see me as a means to an end." He set down his glass. "You're the only one who doesn't want to be here. Who was honest enough to admit it. That's rare. Refreshing. So, this is a reward for honesty?" Celeste couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. "This is a choice made for reasons you'll understand in time." Lucian stood, moving to the window. Beyond the glass, the vampire capital spread out in twilight splendor. "I need a bride for political reasons. But I don't need someone who will simper and scheme. I need a partner, someone real." "You don't know me," Celeste protested. "I could be terrible, cruel, stupid." "Are you?" "No. But then we'll learn each other." He turned back to face her. "I'm offering you a choice, Celeste. You can return to your pack, go back to being their Omega, their reminder of failure. Or you can stay here, become my queen, and discover what you might be, without their judgment weighing you down." Celeste's heart hammered against her ribs. "And if I stay, what would you expect of me?" "Partnership," Lucian said simply. "I need someone at my side for official functions. Someone to help manage the court. Beyond that, I expect nothing you don't wish to give." "You're not," she couldn't finish the thought, "expecting you to share my bed immediately?" A dark smile crossed his face. I'm ancient, not crude. If physical intimacy develops, it will be because we both desire it, not because you feel obligated. The casual way he discussed it made heat rise to her cheeks. I don't know how to be a queen. Did you know how to be an omega before they made you one? Lucian countered. You'll learn. I'll teach you, if you choose to stay. She looked around the study, at the luxury that surrounded her. Then she thought of the Ashwood pack, of Alpha Thorne's contempt, of Lyra's cruelty. She thought of scrubbing floors until her hands bled, of eating after everyone else, of the endless small humiliations that made up her daily existence. If I stay, Celeste said slowly, it won't just be me you're protecting. It will be a statement. The Vampire King choosing a wolfless omega over powerful princesses. There will be consequences. Let there be consequences, Lucian replied. I've faced worse. My pack will be furious. Your pack cast you aside. Their fury is irrelevant. Celeste met his crimson gaze. Why do I feel like there's something you're not telling me? Lucian's smile widened. Because you're perceptive. But some truths are earned, not given. Stay, and you'll learn them all. It was a risk. Everything about this was a risk. But as Celeste sat in that study, being offered a choice instead of a command, being seen instead of dismissed, she realized she'd already made her decision. I'll stay, she said quietly. I'll try to be what you need. No, Lucian corrected, moving to stand before her. He extended his hand. Be what you are, that's all I need. She placed her hand in his, and he pulled her to her feet. Standing close to him, she realized how tall he was, how his presence seemed to fill the room. But unlike the way Alpha Thorne's power had always felt threatening, Lucian's felt protective. Tomorrow, we'll make the formal announcement, he said. Tonight, rest. You look exhausted. I am, Celeste admitted. I haven't slept properly in days. I was too anxious about tonight. Understandable. He pulled a cord, and a servant appeared. Show Lady Celeste to the Queen's chambers. See that she has everything she needs. Your Majesty, the servant bowed, then gestured for Celeste to follow. At the door, Celeste paused. King Lucian? Yes? Thank you, she said, for seeing me when no one else did. His expression softened almost imperceptibly. Sleep well, my chosen bride. Tomorrow, we begin rewriting both our stories. As Celeste followed the servant through the palace, past staring vampires and opulent chambers, she felt something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. It took her a moment to identify it. Hope. For the first time in 2 years, Celeste felt hope. Chapter 2. The Queen's chambers were excessive. Celeste stood in the center of the vast bedroom, staring at the enormous bed draped in midnight blue silk. A private balcony overlooked the vampire city. The bathing room alone was larger than her entire quarters back in the Ashwood Pack territory. This is too much, she murmured. This is appropriate for His Majesty's chosen bride, the servant replied. She was young for a vampire, perhaps only a century old, with kind, dark eyes. I'm Mira. I'll be attending to your needs. I don't need. Celeste stopped herself. She was used to serving others, not being served. I'm not used to this. You'll adjust, Mira said with surprising gentleness. Now, let's get you out of that dreadful gown and into something comfortable. His Majesty wants you rested for tomorrow. As Mira helped her change, Celeste caught sight of herself in the floor-length mirror. Without the ill-fitting ball gown, she looked even more out of place. Too thin from years of eating last. Too pale from stress. Too plain to be anyone's chosen anything. You're thinking negative thoughts, Mira observed. I can tell from your expression. I'm thinking realistic thoughts, Celeste corrected. His Majesty doesn't make mistakes. Mira guided her toward the bed. If he chose you, there's a reason. Trust in that. After Mira left, Celeste lay in the enormous bed, too anxious to sleep despite her exhaustion. Her mind replayed the evening, Lucian's crimson eyes studying her, his declaration that sent shockwaves through the ballroom, the fury on Lyra's face. A soft knock startled her from her thoughts. Come in, she called. Lucian entered, now dressed more casually in a simple black shirt and trousers. I wanted to ensure you had everything you needed. Celeste sat up, acutely aware that she wore only a nightgown. I'm fine, thank you. You're not sleeping, he observed, moving to stand by the window. Anxiety? Is it that obvious? Your heartbeat gives you away. It's racing. He kept his gaze on the window, giving her privacy. Would it help to talk? I don't know what to say, Celeste admitted. This doesn't feel real. I understand that feeling. Something in his voice made her curious. Do you? You're a king. Surely you're used to getting everything you want. Power doesn't equal peace, Celeste. And sometimes what we want most is what seems impossible. He finally turned to face her. Can I tell you something? A truth to balance the one you shared in the ballroom. Of course. Lucian moved to sit in the chair near her bed, maintaining respectful distance. I've been alone for a very long time. Not physically, obviously. I have a court, advisors, subjects, but truly alone. No one sees me as anything other than their king. They fear me, serve me, use me, but they don't see me. Until tonight, Celeste said softly, understanding dawning when I saw you as bored and tired of pretense. Exactly. His crimson eyes held hers. You looked at me and saw a person, not a king, not a vampire, not a political opportunity, just a person who was having a tedious evening. That's rarer than you know. I think, Celeste said carefully, we both know what it means to be seen only for what we lack. Then perhaps we can see each other truly. Lucian stood. I should let you rest. Tomorrow will be demanding. Wait, Celeste said. Can I ask something? Anything. Why are vampires and shifters so segregated? We share the realm, but it's like two separate worlds. Lucian's expression grew thoughtful. Ancient prejudices. Vampires think shifters are primitive beasts. Shifters think vampires are soulless monsters. Both are wrong, but centuries of distrust are hard to overcome. By choosing me, you're bridging that gap, Celeste realized. A shifter, even a wolfless one, as vampire queen. I'm attempting too, Lucian agreed, though I suspect many will resist the change. Are you prepared for that? I've spent 2 years being resisted, Celeste replied. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be used to it. His voice carried an edge. But I promise you this, as my queen, no one will treat you as less, not without consequences. After he left, Celeste lay back down, her mind whirling. Sleep finally came as dawn approached, bringing dreams of crimson eyes and impossible choices. She woke to Mira drawing back curtains. Good afternoon, my lady. Afternoon? Celeste sat up groggily. I slept that long? His Majesty left instructions that you weren't to be disturbed. But the formal announcement ceremony is in 2 hours. We need to prepare you. What followed was a whirlwind. Mira and 3 other attendants bathed her, styled her hair into an elegant updo, and dressed her in a gown of deep emerald that actually fit perfectly. Jewels were added, a silver necklace with a blood-red ruby, matching earrings. By the time they finished, Celeste barely recognized her reflection. You look like a queen, Mira said with satisfaction. I look like I'm playing dress-up, Celeste countered, but she couldn't deny the transformation. The gown accentuated what little curves she had. The color brought out her green eyes. She looked almost beautiful. A knock announced Lucian's arrival. He entered and stopped, his expression shifting to something that made Celeste's breath catch. Stunning, he said, though you would be stunning in rags. The gown merely emphasizes what was already there. Heat crept up her neck. You're very smooth with compliments, Your Majesty. Lucian, he corrected. When we're in private, call me Lucian. And I'm not being smooth, I'm being honest. He offered his arm. Ready to face the court? Absolutely not, Celeste replied. But she took his arm anyway. Let's do it before I lose my nerve. They walked through the palace together, and Celeste felt every eye on them. Vampire nobles watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to disdain. She lifted her chin, refusing to show the fear churning in her stomach. The throne room was packed. It seemed every vampire of importance had gathered for the announcement. Celeste spotted the other princesses from last night's ball, including a furious-looking Lyra. Lucian led her to the throne. But instead of sitting, he turned to face the crowd, keeping Celeste's hand firmly in his. "I have called you here to witness my choice," he began, his voice carrying absolute authority. "Last night, I danced with 100 princesses. All were worthy candidates, but only one touched something I thought long dead, my interest in genuine connection." He looked down at Celeste, and she saw something in his eyes that made her pulse quicken. Lady Celeste Ashwood is wolfless. Her pack cast her aside, treated her as lesser, sent her to my ball as an insult. But in doing so, they gave me the greatest gift, a woman of courage, honesty, and strength that has nothing to do with supernatural power and everything to do with character. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I choose her not despite her lack of wolf, but because of who she is without it. Lucian's voice hardened, and I expect every member of this court to show her the respect due to your future queen. Is that understood? Your Majesty. An elderly vampire stepped forward. Forgive me, but the court must ask, will this union be fertile? Without her wolf, can Lady Celeste provide heirs? The question hit Celeste like a physical blow. Of course. She hadn't even considered it. Without her wolf, could she bear children? Especially vampire shifter hybrids? Lucian's expression turned glacial. My personal relationship with my bride is not the court's concern. What is your concern is serving your king and welcoming your queen. Now, unless there are other impertinent questions, silence answered him. Then I present to you Lady Celeste Ashwood, my chosen bride and your future queen. The coronation will take place in 1 month. He raised their joined hands. All hail Queen Celeste. All hail Queen Celeste, the court repeated, though many voices lacked enthusiasm. After the ceremony, back in the privacy of Lucian's study, Celeste finally allowed herself to breathe. That was terrifying, she admitted. You handled it beautifully. Lucian poured her wine. Though I apologize for Lord Bartholomew's question. It was inappropriate. It was valid, Celeste said quietly. I hadn't thought about children, about whether I even can. She trailed off, the implications sinking in. Does it matter? Lucian sat beside her. Children or not, I chose you. That doesn't change. It matters to your court, Celeste replied. To your legacy. If I can't give you heirs, then we'll adopt, Lucian interrupted. Or we'll find another solution. Or we'll simply rule well and let history judge us on that, rather than our offspring. He took her hand. I didn't choose you for your womb, Celeste. I chose you for you. Tears pricked her eyes. She blinked them back. No one has ever valued me for just being me. Then your pack were fools. He squeezed her hand gently, and their loss is my gain. A commotion outside the study made them both tense. Raised voices, then a knock. Your Majesty? A guard called. Alpha Thorne of the Ashwood pack demands an audience. Celeste's blood ran cold. He's here. Of course he is, Lucian said grimly. Your value increased the moment I chose you. Now he wants you back. He stood. Stay here. I'll handle this. No. Celeste rose as well. If he's here about me, I should face him. Lucian studied her for a moment, then nodded. Very well, but you are under my protection now. Remember that. They entered the throne room together. Alpha Thorne stood at the center, flanked by his beta and his daughter Lyra. Thorne was a large man, all muscle and arrogance. He'd aged since Celeste last saw him, his dark hair now streaked with gray. Your Majesty, Thorne said, offering a shallow bow. I've come to discuss a matter of pack business. Then, speak, Lucian replied, his tone bored. He settled into his throne, pulling Celeste down to sit on the smaller throne beside him, the Queen's throne. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. The woman you've chosen, Thorne began. She belongs to my pack. As Alpha, I have the right to. You have no rights here, Lucian interrupted coldly. You sent her to my ball. I chose her. She stays. She's defective, Lyra burst out. Father, tell him. She's worthless. She can't even shift. I'm aware, Lucian replied. Your Majesty, perhaps we can come to an arrangement. I'll give you Lyra instead. She's powerful, beautiful, fully capable of. I don't want Lyra, Lucian said bluntly. I want Celeste. That's final. But surely you can see what I see. Lucian leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous purr. Is an alpha who spent 2 years abusing a member of his pack, then tried to use her as an insult to me. What I see is a man who didn't value what he had until someone else did. And what I absolutely see is that you have no claim here. Celeste is mine now. Celeste felt something shift inside her at those words. Mine. Not as property, but as protection, as choice. I can speak for myself, she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Celeste stood, facing her former alpha directly. You made me Omega, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. You told me I was worthless, broken, a burden. For 2 years, you treated me as less than dirt. And now you want me back because a king saw value where you saw none? Celeste, Thorne began, but she cut him off. No, you don't get to speak. Not anymore. She lifted her chin. I'm staying here. Not because I have to, but because I choose to. For the first time in my life, someone gave me a choice, and I'm choosing this. Lyra's face twisted with rage. You ungrateful? Careful, Lucian said softly. Insult my bride and we'll have a problem. Thorne's jaw tightened. He looked between Celeste and Lucian, clearly calculating the cost of pressing further. Finally, he gave a stiff bow. Very well. The Ashwood pack withdraws its claim on Celeste. He turned to leave, then paused. But know this, Your Majesty. She will bring you nothing but shame. She's broken, defective. You'll regret this choice. I regret nothing, Lucian replied. Now leave my court before I decide your insults warrant punishment. After they left, Celeste sank back into her throne, trembling. That was necessary, Lucian finished. You stood up to him. I'm proud of you. I was terrified, yet you did it anyway. That's what courage is. He looked at her with something that might have been admiration. You're stronger than you know, Celeste. Far stronger than your missing wolf. As they left the throne room, Celeste felt something settling inside her. A sense of rightness she'd never experienced in the Ashwood pack. Perhaps she couldn't shift. Perhaps she was broken in the way shifters measured worth. But maybe, just maybe, there were other ways to be whole. Chapter 3. The weeks leading up to the coronation passed in a blur of lessons. Celeste learned court protocol, vampire customs, political dynamics. She discovered she had a talent for diplomacy, for remembering names and faces, for reading the subtle currents of power that flowed through the palace. She also spent time with Lucian, private dinners, walks through the palace gardens, long conversations about everything and nothing. He told her about his long life, the loneliness of immortality, the weight of crown and duty. She told him about her childhood before the failed transformation, about her love of books, about the dreams she'd buried when her wolf never came. What did you want to be? Lucian asked one evening as they sat in the garden. Before, when you still thought you'd shift, Celeste considered the question. A healer, she admitted. I wanted to help people. But healers need their wolves. It enhances their abilities, their connection to others. She laughed bitterly. Just another dream that died with my missing wolf. You could still heal, Lucian pointed out. Without magic, human medicine, herbology, conventional treatments. Your lack of wolf doesn't prevent that. The suggestion stunned her. I never thought of it that way. Because your pack taught you to define yourself by what you lack rather than what you have. He turned to face her fully. You're intelligent, compassionate, dedicated. Those are the real requirements for a healer. The wolf just makes it easier. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. You just have to stop letting their voices drown out your own. As the days passed, Celeste found herself drawn to Lucian in ways that went beyond gratitude or political alliance. The way he listened when she spoke. The rare smiles he gave only her. The protective way he stood beside her during court functions. The mate bond they'd formed was becoming something real. 1 week before the coronation, Lucian requested her presence in his private chambers after dinner. Celeste's heart hammered as she knocked. "Enter," his deep voice called. She found him standing by the fireplace, tension in every line of his body. "Is something wrong?" "No." "Yes. Perhaps." He turned to face her. "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you before you agreed to stay." Celeste's stomach dropped. "What is it?" "Sit. Please." He waited until she settled on the couch, then began to pace. "I told you I've been alone, that no one sees me as anything other than their king. That was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. I'm listening. 300 years ago, I was cursed by a witch whose advances I refused. She declared that I would live forever, unable to feel true emotion. I could think, reason, rule, but love, joy, genuine connection, all of it was muted. Like watching life through frosted glass." Celeste's hand went to her throat. "For 3 centuries?" "For 3 centuries," he confirmed. "I've existed rather than lived, gone through motions, played my role, but feeling nothing beyond the surface." He stopped pacing, meeting her eyes. "Until I heard your voice in that ballroom, when you told me honestly why you were there, when you showed vulnerability despite your fear. Something cracked. The curse weakened. I don't understand. The witch's curse had a condition. It would only break when I found someone who valued me despite my power, not because of it. Someone who saw me as a person rather than a king." He moved to kneel before her, taking her hands. "You did that, Celeste. You saw me. And in doing so, you started to free me." Tears welled in Celeste's eyes. "So, you chose me to break your curse?" "No." His grip tightened. "I chose you because I wanted to. The curse breaking was a surprise, a gift, but not the reason." He reached up to cup her face. "I'm telling you now, because I don't want secrets between us. I want you to know that what I feel for you, this growing affection, this need to be near you, it's real. It's not gratitude for breaking the curse. It's genuine feeling returned after centuries of numbness." "You feel?" Celeste whispered. "Truly?" "I feel," he confirmed. "And it's overwhelming and terrifying and wonderful. Because of you." She leaned into his touch. "I thought I was broken, that something was wrong with me because I couldn't shift. But maybe..." She trailed off, the realization forming. Maybe we're both broken in our own ways, and maybe that's what lets us see each other truly. 2 outcasts who found each other, Lucian murmured. "How perfectly absurd." "Perfectly right," Celeste corrected. He stood, pulling her up with him. "The curse isn't fully broken. It weakens each day, but the witch made it strong. Complete healing requires..." He hesitated. "Requires what?" "True love," Lucian admitted. "Freely given, freely received. The genuine article. Not obligation, not gratitude, real love." "That's very fairy tale," Celeste observed. "Curses often are." He traced her jawline with his thumb. "I'm not asking you to love me. I'm simply telling you that I'm beginning to love you, and hoping, perhaps, that in time..." She kissed him. It was impulsive, bold, nothing like the careful, controlled person she'd been in the Ashwood pack. But Celeste had spent 2 years being diminished. She was done with that. If she felt something, she would act on it. Lucian responded immediately, his arms coming around her, pulling her close. The kiss deepened, and Celeste felt something surge between them, the mate bond flaring bright and hot. But more than that, she felt genuine desire, genuine connection. This wasn't political. This was personal. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lucian rested his forehead against hers. That was unexpected. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Celeste asked. "Very, very good." He pulled her closer. "But we should slow down. I don't want to rush." "What if I want to rush?" She looked up at him. "What if I'm tired of being careful and controlled? What if I want to just feel for once?" His eyes darkened. "Celeste, I'm not saying I love you," she interrupted. "Not yet. But I feel something. Something real and strong and frightening. And I want to explore it. I want to stop holding back." "You're sure?" In answer, she kissed him again. What followed was tender and intense, careful and passionate. Lucian treated her like something precious. And for the first time in her life, Celeste felt valued not despite her flaws but as a complete person. Her lack of wolf didn't matter in his arms. Nothing mattered except the connection building between them. Afterward, as they lay tangled together in his bed, Lucian traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "I need to tell you something else." "More revelations?" Celeste asked. But she was smiling, a smaller one. He pulled her closer. "The reason I wasn't concerned about heirs, about whether you could bear children, it's because vampires rarely have children anyway. We're essentially immortal. Nature balances that by making us nearly infertile. I've lived 300 years without siring a child. It's unlikely to change now, wolf or no wolf." So the court's concerns were based on assumptions that don't really apply to vampires, Lucian finished. "They know this, of course, but they were looking for any excuse to question my choice, to question you." "Because I'm not a vampire," Celeste said slowly. "Because I'm other. Yes. Just as your pack rejected you for being wolfless, some of my court rejects you for not being vampire." He tightened his arms around her. "But you're my choice, my queen, my mate, and I'll face down anyone who suggests otherwise." Celeste nestled into him, feeling safe in a way she'd never experienced. "We're quite the pair. The cursed king and the wolfless shifter. I prefer the king who found his queen and the woman who saved him," Lucian countered. "Better story. Much better," Celeste agreed. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in years, Celeste's dreams were peaceful. Chapter 4. The coronation arrived with pomp and ceremony. Celeste wore a gown of silver and midnight blue, the colors of Lucian's house. A crown of silver set with rubies was placed on her head by Lucian himself, his hands steady as he performed the ritual. "I crown you Queen Celeste Nightborn," he declared. "Consort and partner, advisor and friend. May you rule with wisdom and compassion." The court repeated the ritual words, and Celeste felt the weight of the crown settle, both literal and metaphorical. She was queen now, no longer an Omega, no longer wolfless Celeste who didn't belong. She was Queen Celeste, and she would make that mean something. The celebration lasted well into the night. Celeste danced with Lucian, with various nobles, even with Mira, who had become her closest friend. She smiled until her face hurt, graciously accepted congratulations, and played her role perfectly. But as midnight approached, a commotion at the entrance drew everyone's attention. Celeste's breath caught. Alpha Thorne had returned, but he wasn't alone. He'd brought his entire pack council and something else. A woman wrapped in dark robes, her face hidden. "Your Majesty," Thorne called out, his voice carrying over the music. "I come to make amends, to offer a gift for your new queen." Lucian's expression turned wary. "What kind of gift?" "A chance at wholeness." Thorne gestured to the robed woman. "This is Morgana, a powerful witch. She has agreed to attempt what your pack could not, to awaken Celeste's dormant wolf." Celeste felt the room tilt. "What?" Morgana stepped forward, lowering her hood. She was beautiful in an unsettling way, with eyes that seemed to see too much. "Your Majesty," she addressed Celeste directly. "I have studied your case. Your wolf isn't missing. It's trapped, locked away by trauma and fear. With the right magic, I believe I can free it." Hope and terror warred in Celeste's chest. "You can make me shift?" "I can try," Morgana replied, "though the process will be intense, painful, even. Breaking through years of mental barriers always is." Celeste looked at Lucian, seeking guidance. His expression was unreadable. "It's your choice," he said quietly. "I'll support whatever you decide." "Think carefully," Thorne said, though his voice held an edge. "This is a gift the pack offers, a chance to be complete, to finally have what you've always lacked." Something about his phrasing bothered Celeste, what she'd always lacked, as if she was incomplete without her wolf, as if everything she'd built here, everything she'd become, was somehow less because she couldn't shift. She thought about the past month, how she'd learned to navigate court politics, how she'd discovered her talent for diplomacy and healing, how she'd found genuine connection with Lucian. None of that required a wolf. "What would you expect in return?" she asked Thorne. "Nothing," he said too smoothly. "Merely peace between our peoples, an alliance between pack and court." There it was, the real reason. They wanted access to vampire power, and Celeste was the key. Awakening her wolf would cement the pack's claim on her, make her valuable to them again. Celeste looked at Morgana. "And what do you gain from this?" The witch smiled. "The satisfaction of solving an interesting problem, and perhaps a boon from the Vampire King for reuniting his queen with her wolf. More politics, more manipulation. Just a different flavor than what she'd endured in the pack." "I need time to consider," Celeste said finally. "This is not a decision to make lightly." "Of course," Morgana replied. "But do not take too long, Your Majesty. The offer expires with the next full moon. After that, awakening your wolf becomes significantly more difficult." After Thorne and his entourage left, Lucian pulled Celeste into a private alcove. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," Celeste said slowly, "that for the first time in my life, someone wants me for the wrong reasons. They want to fix me, to make me fit their expectations. But I'm not sure I want to be fixed anymore." "What do you mean?" She met his eyes. "You fell in love with me as I am, wolfless, incomplete by pack standards. You saw value where others saw failure. If I awaken my wolf now, if I become what they always wanted me to be, do I lose what makes me special to you?" "Never," Lucian said fiercely. "Wolf or no wolf, you're mine. You're you. That doesn't change." "But it might change me," Celeste said. "What if my wolf is aggressive? What if shifting alters my personality, my priorities? What if I become more pack-oriented and less mine?" Lucian finished gently. "Less me," Celeste corrected. "The person I've become, here, without my wolf, is someone I actually like. I'm not sure I want to risk losing that." Lucian pulled her close. "Then don't. Tell them no. Tell them you're complete as you are. But what if they're right?" The vulnerability in her voice made her cringe. "What if I'm hiding from my wolf because I'm afraid? What if this is my chance to finally be whole?" "You are whole," Lucian said, "with or without a wolf. You're whole because you're strong, compassionate, intelligent, and brave. None of those things require shifting." Celeste leaned into him. "I don't know what to do." "Then we'll figure it out together," he replied. "Whatever you decide, I'll support you. But Celeste, don't let them make you feel incomplete. You're not. You never were." That night, Celeste stood on her private balcony, staring at the moon. It was waxing, growing toward full. She had 2 weeks to decide. Did she want her wolf? The answer wasn't as simple as yes or no. Part of her yearned for it, for the completeness that shifters promised. But another part feared what it might cost. She'd built a life here, found love and purpose. Would awakening her wolf destroy that? "Can't sleep?" Lucian joined her on the balcony, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "Too much thinking," Celeste admitted. "Want to know what I think?" he asked. "Always. I think you should try." The statement surprised her. "Not because you need fixing, but because you deserve to know. You deserve the chance to meet your wolf, if it exists. And then, with full knowledge, you can decide who you want to be. What if it changes things between us? Then we'll adapt," Lucian replied. "I love you, Celeste. Not the idea of you. Not what you might become. You. If awakening your wolf changes you, we'll figure it out. But I think you need to try. Otherwise, you'll always wonder." She turned to face him. "Did you just say you love me?" "I did," he confirmed. "I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a month. But centuries of feeling nothing followed by feeling everything. It's intense. And what I feel is love." "I love you too," Celeste said, the words feeling right. "Which is why I'm terrified of losing this." "You won't," Lucian promised. "Wolf or not, we're bound. Nothing changes that." Celeste made her decision. Epilogue. The ritual took place during the full moon, in the great courtyard of the palace. Morgana drew symbols in salt and chalk, creating a circle that glowed with otherworldly light. Celeste stood at the center, wearing a simple white shift, her heart pounding. Lucian stood just outside the circle, his presence a comfort. The entire court had gathered to witness, including Alpha Thorne and his pack, clearly expecting vindication. "This will hurt," Morgana warned. "Your wolf has been trapped for years. Breaking through will be traumatic. But if you want to proceed—" "I do," Celeste interrupted. "Let's begin." Morgana began to chant in an ancient language. The circle flared brighter, and Celeste felt something shift inside her. Pain lanced through her body, and she gasped. It felt like her bones were breaking, reforming, as if her entire structure was being rewritten. "Focus," Morgana commanded. "Reach for your wolf. Call to it." Celeste tried. She reached deep inside, searching for the beast that should have been there, and for the first time in her life, she felt it. A presence, wild and powerful, trapped behind a wall of fear. "It's there," she gasped. "I can feel it." "Then break down the wall," Morgana said. "Let it free." But as Celeste reached for that wall, something strange happened. The wolf recoiled. It didn't want to emerge. She felt its confusion, its fear, its contentment. "It doesn't want to come out," Celeste said, shocked. "That's impossible," Thorne barked. "Every wolf wants to run free. You're just blocking it." "No," Celeste said with growing certainty. "It's choosing to stay hidden because—" understanding dawned. "Because I'm happy this way. We're happy this way." She opened her eyes, meeting Lucian's gaze across the circle. "My wolf isn't missing or broken. It's protecting me. All these years it stayed hidden, because coming out would have forced me to submit to pack law, to alpha dominance. It was letting me be free." "That's ridiculous," Lyra scoffed. "Is it?" Celeste looked at the assembled pack. "Or does my wolf know what I'm only now understanding? That I don't need to shift to be whole, that I'm stronger without the pack's expectations weighing me down. That being wolfless let me become someone I actually like." She turned to Morgana. "End the ritual. I'm not awakening my wolf, not because I can't, but because I choose not to." "You're making a mistake," Thorne growled. "No," Celeste replied, stepping out of the circle and walking straight to Lucian. "I'm making a choice. The same choice I made a month ago when I decided to stay here. I choose this life. I choose this love. I choose to be exactly who I am, wolf or no wolf." The circle's light faded. Morgana studied Celeste with something like respect. "Interesting. I've never seen a wolf actively choose to remain dormant. Your mind and your beast are truly one, aren't they? Unified in a way most shifters never achieve." "We are," Celeste confirmed, finally understanding. She wasn't broken. She was different. And different could be powerful. Thorne and his pack left in disgrace, their plan to reclaim her through her wolf thwarted. As the court dispersed, Celeste and Lucian remained in the courtyard, hand in hand. "No regrets?" he asked. "None," Celeste replied. "I know who I am now. I'm not the wolfless failure they wanted me to believe I was. I'm not incomplete or broken. I'm just me. And that's enough." "More than enough," Lucian corrected. He pulled her close. "You're everything." 6 months later, Celeste stood before the court, announcing a new program, a healing center that would train both vampire and shifter healers in conventional medicine. A bridge between their peoples, proving that magic wasn't the only path to helping others. Her first students included wolfless shifters cast out by their packs, vampires deemed too weak for traditional paths, and humans who'd never thought they could study alongside supernaturals. All of them learning that worth wasn't measured by power, but by dedication and compassion. Lucian watched her teach with pride. The curse was fully broken now, shattered by genuine love, freely given and received. He could feel everything: joy, love, contentment, and it was overwhelming in the best way. That evening, as they walked through their private gardens, Celeste noticed something odd. A young woman standing near the roses, looking lost. "Can I help you?" Celeste asked. The woman turned, and Celeste saw familiar features. Green eyes like her own, the same dark hair. "Your Majesty," the woman said. My name is Luna. I'm from the Silver Moon Pack and She hesitated. I heard about you, about how you're wolfless but became a queen anyway. I came to ask if the stories were true. Celeste smiled. They're true. Why? Because I'm wolfless too, Luna admitted. And my pack is going to cast me out when they find out. I don't know where to go or what to do. I'm so afraid. Celeste looked at Lucian, who nodded understanding. She turned back to Luna. You're not alone, and you're not broken. Would you like to stay here? We have a place for people like us. People who are different but not less. Luna's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really, Celeste confirmed. Welcome to the Crimson Palace. Welcome home. As Luna was led away by Mira to get settled, Lucian pulled Celeste close. You're changing the world, you know. One lost soul at a time. We're changing the world, Celeste corrected. Together. She looked up at the moon, full and bright overhead. Somewhere inside her, she felt her wolf stir, content and proud. They'd made the right choice. Both of them. She didn't need to shift to be complete. She just needed to be herself. And in this palace, with this king, with this growing community of outcasts finding home, she was exactly who she was meant to be. Wolfless, powerful, free, and loved beyond measure. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this story of Celeste and Lucian. It was meaningful to explore a character who found strength, not by fixing what others saw as a flaw, but by accepting herself as she is. I'd love to know what you thought of it. Did you appreciate that Celeste chose not to awaken her wolf in the end? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next story. Love, Lyra.